We call the meeting order, stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Visitors, comments?
I received an email. Says to the Blissfield Council, in 2018, the Blissfield Village residents voted 187 noes to 124 yeses on this issue regarding the adult use marijuana. My vote was and still is no. Please keep these voting numbers in mind when making a decision to revisit this issue that was decided in 2018. The decision was and has already been made. Another point is that it would increase the responsibility for our police department. Blissfield is a great place to live. Let's keep it that way. Thank you for your time. Tim Waters, 409 North Lane Street.
Any other comments? Any other visitor comments?
I didn't have any other.
All right, thank you. We're going to action items. Adult use marijuana. We had received a request from a company to have a presentation to council, and that's what they did last week. It's just a little controversial, but it's a business that wants to come to Blissfield, and I thought that it's not my decision to keep it from council or the public, so we wanted the whole presentation made to all the council and all of the community. And this is basically just the beginning, a conversation. As Darwin and I discussed it, it was it's a discussion that needs to be had. Blissfield is not on an island. This is just issues that other cities are dealing with, and so I'm not saying that we're going to deal with it. I'm just saying there should be a little bit of discussion. If no one has any, then we'll just move on.
I would just like to clarify, Bob, is that the village did not go out pursuing this company to come here. They talked with you initially, and that's where this went. Correct?
Yeah, they sent Lisa and I an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify that for the record, that it wasn't something that you went searching for. They came to the village, for lack of better words.
Correct.
Okay.
And we don't have any resident currently that would like to open a marijuana facility, so that's another thing I should state. Do you have any feelings, Mike?
I guess that was my question, was how ambitious are they in investing here? You know, do they have a private investor or a local investor to actually pull it off? Because that was what the whole presentation was about. So if there's really not the interest there or the financial backing, I guess it's kind of a moot point right now. Like Mr. Waters stated, we did vote it down in the past in 2018. How I feel about it, I'm not a fan of recreational. Medicinal is a little bit different story. I do have some interest in that, but anybody that is going to say that the stuff's not already in town has their blinders on. Obviously, it's accessible anywhere. I guess what council's role would be to see the benefit. The pros and cons, weigh the benefits and the negatives. And if it's financially accessible, or if it's financially makes sense for us to pull it off. If it's more work for the police department, obviously we've heard stories about that, about how other municipalities invest a lot more time and money in their police department to monitor the situation or monitor the businesses. So I'm open to hearing more, and investigating more about it, but am I in favor of it right now? Not really.
I just have a couple of points. Actually, the vote was in 2018 was 727 no to 660 yes.
Say the numbers again, Jerry.
727 no, 660 yes. The village is in precinct 2. So appreciate your input, Tim. But that was a 67 vote difference. So I think the people spoke there, and if I remember right, some of you guys are on council, but the council also voted shortly after that went through that the village was not going to participate in marijuana facilities. Am I correct?
That's correct. We opted out of the ordinance to have marijuana in Blissfield.
I'm like Mike, I'm not a fan of it in town. I know what, when a west wind blows in Adrian, what our facility where I work smells like from all those grow facilities on the other side of town. I don't want that in Blissfield. I just don't. I don't see, and his data points prove how many people are using it. But I'm just not for it. And Chief, do you have any insight on how much extra work it would burden you or Jake, or sorry, Sergeant Wagner, or anybody else with on the department?
Well, since I thought about this last week, I've gone on my way to talk to some other chiefs, other communities, and to find out, what I'm in for, both for my own personal time and for the department. So this is a decision the community's got to make for itself, and it's legal, and we'll roll with it. Whichever way the village decides to go, we'll do what we got to do to support the village. So.
And I think that's key. It's what the residents want, and it's what, council, more than most times we listen to residents a lot of the time. So I spoke with Chief Emmerich up in Adrian. He didn't really, give very many issues or concerns. It did have some kind of, did add some work to his officers, and as like Mike said, monitoring it and the different, they have, I don't know how many shops there, quite a few. So.
It's not like somebody's just throwing up a roadside fruit stand selling marijuana though, these are very professional, strict businesses, and the way that, we've seen them run in Adrian, I think it kind of proves that it's manageable and it's doable. Again, it's just what's the financial backing of it, what's the financial gain of it for the village. For me, you think outside the box. We haven't seen any new business really build a new building since what, TLC in 2010-ish, really people aren't constructing new businesses. We're not bringing in a lot of new business. So, does that bring in jobs? Does that bring in tax capture? Yes. But again, does it offset the amount that we're paying the police to do more work, more monitoring? I guess the financial sort of numbers are what I would want to see, not only just.
May I offer something? I sent a message out on the chief's listserv this morning, and I was very clear. I said, I don't want to get into a political discussion, but I would like to hear from other towns that have done this, and I want to hear the pros and cons. I want to hear the good and bad. So give me an honest assessment. And I've had 2 really lengthy, in-depth conversations. Obviously, I talked to Chief Emmerich last week, and I talked to a chief up north with a similar sized town, and very good discussion. And I'll be happy to prepare a memo to kind of just lay out the bullet points of all the goods and the bads. And it's not a sky is falling scenario by any stretch of imagination, but there are issues that would have to be considered. But if council is interested, I'd certainly be willing to provide you with some sort of bullet point of those discussions.
All right, Glenn, do you have any?
I have nothing to add. I think
Okay.
that between Mike and Jerry, you have stated.
Yes, the only thing I would say is that chief, hang on to that and maybe later we'll ask you for it.
Fair enough.
Right. Do you have any thoughts, Karen?
Your Honor, I I have nothing else to add at this time. We did provide you with some background on adult use marijuana, how it's regulated. We provided you with the state's municipal guide, so that that will provide you with some additional information at such time that you want to take up further discussion on this.
Right, thank you.
I think until we have somebody that comes forward and says, well, we have the financial backing to do this, really, it's kind of a moot point anyway, so.
How did you want to say, ask Jane if you want to say something? Jane.
Oh. Jan, do you have any thoughts?
Not at this time.
All right, Jan, thanks. All right, next item is budget. Budget preparation, council priority goals.
Your Honor, council had requested that this item be on the agenda for discussion prior to us starting the budget preparation process for the fiscal year 2021-22 budget. I did provide council with a suggested goals and objectives worksheet, if that might be helpful for you as you proceed with your discussions on establishing your priorities and goals. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't use that, but I thought it may provide you with some guidance. I could not see where the council met last year and engaged in any type of comprehensive goal setting. So I hope that these sheets are helpful to the council, but I would assume that this is just one step in a process for you.
I was gonna say, Darwin, I've got I brought in some of my paperwork. It was dated May the 18th of 2020. And is regarding the village goal setting and administrator discussion. And I think we must have had that in April, is my guess. Administrator Fry has the information stated on that, but it's a memo versus anything in particular, if you will.
Okay, that's probably why I couldn't find it, because I always search back through our iCompass system for any items from previous meetings.
I can speak for myself as far as the SMART goals. I mean, that's something that we have utilized in the educational setting for schools, so I'm very familiar with that. I'm not sure how we would use this tool for the things like I'm thinking of. For example, I'm just going back to what we discussed last year as a reference. That we had said that focus on upcoming projects, for example, was the aquatic center, the old pool, building relationships with stakeholders, village infrastructure, park maintenance. I'm not sure exactly how we would set some of those up into a SMART goal, but I think having something to view with the SMART goal, maybe it wouldn't be exactly like that, Darwin, but it could give us a template, if you will, to maybe use parts of it.
Yeah, I think the whole premise of the SMART goal system is to try to help the council formulate its priorities in terms of, first of all, your goals, and then specific steps on how to achieve those goals. And in setting up your goals, of course, goals are broad accomplishments that you'd like to see, and usually they go beyond one fiscal year. But it tries to help us to think about the larger picture, and then specific steps on how to achieve those overriding goals. So with the aquatic center, of course, the aquatic center, a goal you could think of for the aquatic center is providing high quality recreational services to our citizens as cost effectively as possible. That could be the overriding goal. And then the aquatic center and making sure that we are building a program for the aquatic center could be and some specific steps in that could be objectives that would fall under that broader goal.
And something that could be measurable then. So for example, we could say something with the aquatic center, just throwing out a number of 150 memberships for the year 2021, or excuse me, 21, for summer of 21. We could say something like that.
Yes.
Understand. Okay.
I guess my biggest question on putting this on the agenda was to talk with Darwin about where are we at financially, is he seeing a progress or a proposed increase or decrease in tax capture for the year? How are we sitting financially, that sort of thing, as well as is he sort of creating the proposed budget, or is that something that we're gonna have to come up with as him being the interim? Is that something that's gonna rely on council for the year? So I guess mine are the big questions, Darwin. How are we moving forward on proposing this budget? Because we're already, coming up to, the middle of May. We should have this thing finalized by, at least close to finalized by August.
Right. And so I am going to be starting the process as interim administrator, working both with council and with staff on starting that process. And we will move along as we normally would during my tenure here. I would assume that the new administrator would pick up at the point where I have left off and continue working with council and with staff beyond my tenure. So at the end of this month, I will be sending out guidance in the form of a budget preparation packet to department heads so that they have guidance on what the expectations are in terms of budget preparation. And we will begin work on the budget. First, in terms of preparing the department's requests, departmental requests, but then also on my end, working with our treasurer and department heads, coming up with revenue estimates. Once I receive the department requests, then I will have follow-up meetings with department heads. We will review those department requests. I will have some good revenue estimates. We will see where we're at, and if we need to reduce departmental requests because of revenue projections, then we will, as a team, work on reducing those requests. So I anticipate that my role will be part of the normal process for as long as I'm here. And then your new administrator should be in a position to be able to pick up where I have left off. The council's role, I would recommend that you establish a committee of the council to be able to work with administration through this process, so that at key steps in the process and at your next meeting next week, I will be providing you with a proposed budget calendar that will outline all of the steps in the budget preparation process. So at that time, you'll have a much better idea of the detailed steps. But I would recommend that you also be prepared at your next meeting to establish a council committee to work with administration on those particular steps. You had asked about revenue projections. At this point, I have no reason to believe that COVID-19 has significantly impacted us from a revenue standpoint. And Treasurer Hudson and I are going to be reviewing this week those line items that are currently out of balance and need to be adjusted. And we will be making recommendations at your next council meeting on adjustments to those particular accounts for the current fiscal year, so that we can try to balance as many of the accounts out as we can. And then moving forward, because what we have been doing while I've been here is we have been making budget adjustments as they come up. As we know that we need to adjust the budget, we handle those on a case-by-case basis. But we are reviewing this week those items that have been out of balance so that we can start to balance those out. And those will be coming back to council, hopefully at your next meeting, so that we can balance out all of those accounts. Most of them have to do with wages and benefits that are charged to benefits, actually, that are charged to a central account and then redistributed. Those make up far and away the majority of the accounts that currently are seeing negatives right now that need to be balanced out. Normally, those are done at the end of the year. That makes me a little nervous waiting to the end of the year. So we're going to try to balance those out the best we can now. And then moving forward, making sure that we're monitoring any adjustments that need to be made in real time, so that by the time we get to the end of the fiscal year, there's very little adjustment we need to make to the budget.
How do you feel about the utilities, Darwin? Are you doing kind of monthly or quarterly updates to see where we're at regarding keeping track of, you know, where our rates are at, where our expenses are, so that we're not, I guess, in the same situation we were last year regarding
we are currently doing pretty well, actually, in our water and sewer funds. So in my discussions with Treasurer Hudson, it appears that the rate structure that you have set up is working well for us, but we continue to monitor it.
And have you heard anything from the state regarding revenues? You think it's going to be an increase? You think it's going to be a slight decrease? Any idea yet?
We are anticipating probably a slight increase in revenue sharing, but no major increase. The biggest increase is going to be, of course, as we've talked about previously, from the American Recovery Act funding. And we thought we would have numbers by now. We still do not. The latest I heard today from the Michigan Municipal League is that we anticipate numbers from the U.S. Department of Treasury this week. Actually, we were expecting them at the end of last week or today. I have not seen any numbers yet. So we're still waiting on those. But in preparing the budget for the upcoming year, we should be continuing to estimate conservatively on our revenue side.
I just feel like we really need to get our ducks in a row, because we've had the former two village administrators go do this for 25 years, you know, and we kind of trusted that budget and rubber stamped it and went through it. You know, we did tweaks here and there. Last year's village administrator predicted a shortfall over the next fiscal year. And you seem to be a little bit more comfortable where we're at. Is that the way I'm reading it? So I just want to make sure that, again, you know, last year at this time, we were nitpicking $1,200 worth of computers.
Yes, you were.
Exactly. So
We were, yeah.
my concern is that we're on, you know, we've got we're ahead of the game when the time comes for when we need to really start nitpicking on what we're going to cut or what we're going to do in the future for fiscal year 21-22.
Yes, and when Treasurer Hudson and I reviewed the budget numbers this week, we will have a better idea on that for your meeting next Monday.
Okay, I just, and this is nothing against where we're at in the process, but we've had, 3 administrator changes over the past 2 years. My mentality is let's play it conservative, let's get through another year. I think the residents have spoken that they don't want us spending on a lot of improvements, things like that. We've got a lot of maintenance projects that we need to focus on, the pool, the infrastructure, the old pool. That's the park, there's a lot of things that need to be
So we don't
fixed and
need,
maintained
we don't
there.
need anything
We
new.
need to quit, yes, increasing and spending the money, but let's maintain what we got. And then let's kind of get comfortable with a new administrator whenever that happens, and then get back into a normal routine maybe for 22-23.
And I tend to be of the same thinking as you on that. We will be talking about, as part of the budget preparation process for this year, talking about creating a comprehensive capital improvement plan, trying to pull all the numbers from all of the different studies that we have undertaken over the past probably 7 years or so, and trying to pull those into one comprehensive planning document. And then council can start to decide what type of schedule we want to be on in terms of trying to tackle those capital needs that we have. But that's going to be a big discussion for us. And so we will, I agree. I think it's probably something that we will want to really focus on starting to implement next fiscal year, or fiscal year after next. Once we've got a handle on what our plan is and what the extent dollar-wise our capital needs are.
Any other questions for Darrell?
As long as we're keeping up on it, because we should have, each, the police, the DPW, everybody should have their requests in by now, correct? I just feel like we're kind of behind the 8 ball, or are we not? DDA needs to have their funding or their proposed budget set for you by the next meeting. So again, I just want to make sure that we're on our A game and ready to go to present everything to you, so you can create the budget, if that's your intent, if that's your plan.
Yes, well, actually, I don't think we're behind the 8 ball. I think this is about the appropriate time that we would be starting this process, having department heads present their departmental requests. One of the things we're doing this year that I think was is a little different from previous years is department heads are going to be much more engaged in the budget preparation process than I think they have been in previous years. My goal is to try to make sure that department heads have a much better understanding of their departmental budgets and how to manage those, so that in the future, we're not relying on one person, on the village administrator, to have all the answers when it comes to the budget. I would like all department heads to be educated on their own budgets, to be able to manage their budgets and take a more active role in managing those budgets. So that's something we're going to be doing a little differently this year. But we will work with the council at whatever speed the council wants us to work at. I think now is the right time to begin that process. But I think if we have, like Mike, what you said earlier, if we have a draft budget completed by August, I think that is the appropriate time schedule, so that we can start the budget hearing process and have a budget adopted prior to October 1st.
In the past, we usually adopt one the first week of September. So the end of August, it'd be nice to have that finalized budget for discussion at a board level.
What was your time frame, Darwin, did you state regarding the department heads?
They will be getting instructions on the budget preparation probably next week. And it will take them probably 3 weeks to get their budget submissions back to me.
And during that time, that 3-week time frame, you're anticipating to meet with the department heads individually to discuss the in-depth portion of the budget, or you're gonna just meet with the whole team of department heads and go through your expectations?
No, I will be meeting with department heads individually.
I do like your idea of having a committee
I do too.
to sit down and work with you on that, because again, you know, we're kind of the ones that know the past. And that's nothing against you, you just haven't been here through it, so. You know, if we sit down as a subcommittee and say, well, these are the big ticket items that have been on the radar, you know, for the past 5-10 years, or this is what's been coming down the pipe for the next 5-10 years. I think that'll give you or whoever's here a better idea on where we need to focus, Darwin. And I know it's kind of a bad timing just because we're looking at the replacement, or whether it's you or somebody else in the future, but we're looking at the new full-time administrator taking over right at the beginning of this budget process.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah, I would concur, Mike, with what you're saying there as well. A subcommittee, I think that's a very nice idea. What would be your thoughts for a number regarding the subcommittee, Darwin? What would be an appropriate number?
3.
Okay. And you'll be looking for that for next week, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any, okay, we're going on to added agenda items. Anyone have anything?
I do, if no one else has anything.
Go ahead.
I would like to request that council consider the village attorney's job performance at our May 24th meeting, which is next Monday. And I would like to know if there would be a consensus from council regarding that.
I think it would be fine.
I mean, you can put it on the agenda, yeah.
Okay, so you'll be talking to, would Darwin, Bob would talk to you about that, or do we just tell you now to put that onto the agenda?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You'll just put that on the agenda then about,
If there are no objections from council, we can definitely put it on the agenda for next Monday. What I would request is that the village president reach out to the village attorney just to let him know that it will be on the agenda, so that if the village attorney wishes to request a closed session to discuss his performance, he has the opportunity to do so before Monday's meeting.
and we would know prior to the meeting whether or not the closed or open session at that time.
I would assume that the village attorney would forward his request onto the village council if he wished to request a closed session.
Okay, thank you.
Any other items? Well, we'll get on to just the announcements. I know that May 22nd is quite a busy day.
It is.
We have
We have Black Squirrel Flea Market from 10 to 4. Yep. And seniors have their parade that day too. It starts at 10 o'clock at the high school. They're going to come down South Lane to Jefferson and then up Giles. They're not going to go all the way to the highway because they'd be going right through the black squirrels.
Right to the flea market.
And then there's also a ribbon cutting, I think at noon for Shelley's subs.
Oh, wow.
And there's also the Blissfield River cleanup from 1:30 to 4:30. The Village of Blissfield and the River Raisin Watershed Council working together. I received an email saying to pass it on because I'm volunteering, pass it on to
Who do we-
others.
And is it with Heather for the river cleanup? We have to connect with Heather on that?
believe
That's what I
so,
thought, okay. I know if you wanted to run a chainsaw, you had to have, make sure.
Training.
Chainsaw training.
I think you register through, there's a post on Facebook, register through the River Raisin Watershed.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'll check on that, thank you. Okay.
If there's nothing else, I think that it was pretty awesome being back here in person.
Yeah,
Yes, much easier.
our county commissioners here too.
Jim,
Hi, Jim.
would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I can give you a
You
little
want to
update.
think that Mike right there,
Oh, okay.
state your name and what you do, what you represent.
Okay. My name is Jim Gates and I represent the Village of Blissfield, Blissfield Township, Ogden Township, Deerfield Township, Ridgeway Township, Palmyra, and Ryda. So I've got 6. I actually replaced Bob Canabo.
So you're our Lenawee
Yes.
commissioner.
Yeah, I represent you.
Yeah.
And I just want to give you a little update. We are, the courthouse up there on the renovation is pretty much on schedule. Marty said the other day that they anticipate it should be done August 31st. And I'm assuming they're gonna probably have an open house as soon as that, everything is completed. For the public can go in and view it, what's going on. And then our, I don't know how many here in Blissfield use the DOS, the recycling place we have in Adrian for like recycling. We've had a lot of problems with it and we've applied for a grant and we're gonna update it. The existing one jams all the time. People will come in there and they'll put cardboard and stuff in and jam, and the thing will jam on them and then they leave everything lay there. And, because some people drive as far as like, Morenci, and you've got the Hudson area where people come in. So we're in the process, we applied for a grant and we're gonna spend about $65,000 to update. We're gonna put in the 4th compactor and then redo the chutes on the existing 3 that are there to prevent this maintenance thing. They figured that it's gonna cost around $65,000 to update them. And they figured just in the maintenance alone, it'll be like a 5-year payback. What it cost the county maintenance when that thing jams, we've got to get somebody over there right away, to unjam it. So that's another thing we're doing. And then we've applied for the Eagle grant for the fairgrounds for tire collection. And Rebecca Borton's handling that. And I haven't heard whether we've got the grant yet, but I know it's in the process. And they anticipate for like tire collection, it'll be, I think it's September 11th. I'm not sure. I mean, we don't know positively that date. And then they're also working on household appliances and like paint and stuff like that people can bring in and but we haven't got that settled yet. But then dates will all be posted once the grant, if the grant goes through, which they extended it to December now, so I'm quite sure it's gonna go through.
So where's that recycle located?
Do you know on the back side, like where the old armory is, there's a street goes by the armory?
Where you have-
Yeah, it goes back around where the Lenawee County Drain Commission building is. It's kind
Okay.
of behind there.
What's the street, Jim?
I believe it's Race Street, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. You're correct.
Down there where family or college.
Mhm.
Yeah, Family Dollar's right there, the old country
I
market
know what you're
store.
talking, yes,
Keep
yes.
the
Yeah, we're-
DPW's out behind there in the
Okay.
school.
We're trying to
school
get
garage.
people educated, in this recycling thing to try to prevent all this stuff going into the landfills. Because I think last month, and I saw the numbers, was like, I wanna say 5,000 tons of waste was hauled out of Lenawee County, which goes to the landfill someplace. It was like 5,000 tons a month. So that's a lot of garbage that's hauled out. And we've contracted with, I can't think of the name of the company now, it's hauled out, it's, well, anyway, they, we signed a 3-year contract with them. All this waste out of Lenawee County, since the landfill there, in Palmyra got closed. Anybody else have any further questions for me? I mean, try to answer what I can.
Oh, we just appreciate you coming to give us an update.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll try to make it back again soon. I've had quite a few places. The only place I haven't been, well, I had surgery when I first became the commissioner. I had a new shoulder put in, so I was kind of tied at home, which, we did everything online and so forth, and that helped, but I wasn't able to get out and go to the townships, and I've only missed one. I gotta get to Deerfield yet. I haven't been there. So. Anybody have any further questions for me?
No, we appreciate you coming
All
in.
right, you got a beautiful
Thanks for the
place here. It's the
information.
first time I've been in here.
Thank you.
I hope our new quarters are like this. All right.
All right, then.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess that would be it then. We're going to adjourn.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
I think you need to change your clock, don't you?
Yeah, I think we need to say it.
See you, Jan and Darwin.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Have
guys.
a good night, everybody.
Yeah.